Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. So for today's video I wanted to give you a quick tour of my rat's cage. Now I will start off by saying that it isn't perfect. I haven't just put everything in the cage. They have been living in it for about a week now, and I have of course spot cleaned, so it's not going to look perfect, but I still wanted to show you it anyway. So this cage is the Pet Planet Rat and Ferret cage, and I did actually just upload a video where I reviewed this cage. So if you're interested in buying this cage after you watch this video, I definitely recommend you go and watch that one as well. I will leave that linked in the iCards and also down in the description below. So yeah, in this cage we have my 3 male rats. We have Sunday, who is a Dumbo Russian Dove Agouti, Sprout, who is a Dumbo Russian Blue Rex, and lastly we have Moose, who is a top-eared mink variegated rat. So if you're not familiar with my rats, I did have a 4th rat called Badger, and he did unfortunately pass away recently, but after he passed away I decided to completely redo the cage for them, and that is how it's looking today. So I also just wanted to quickly show you that next to the rat cage I have a cat tree, or I guess a rat tree, and I have attached a plastic tunnel to this, but I do intend to attach a lot more things to it just to make it more rat friendly and interesting for them. So that is my rat tree that is next to the cage. So on the outside of the cage we have one of their water bottles, and I do find with this cage, if you don't use all of the shelves that come with it, it is hard to attach the water bottles in a place that makes sense. So this one is just so they can access it from their hammock. The ultimate laziness is that they can just have a drink in bed. So before we get started, I did just want to say that I will try my best to leave everything you're about to see linked in the description, and one of those things I'm starting with is this bird perch. I love these and I wish I had more of these. I will have to buy a few more. I just have this one attached on the left hand side at the top, and I will probably get a few more just to add onto this door itself, but yeah. The first thing I have to show you is this bird perch. So this is the top section of the cage, and there is a lot to go through, so I think I'll start from the left hand side and then kind of just work my way over to the right hand side and talk you through what's in the cage. So on the left hand side we have these ropes, and I do get a lot of questions about where I get these from, and these are just dog ropes. I got this specific one from B&M for about £3 I think, so they're really not that expensive, and I got this one and it does go all the way through the cage, all the way to attach to the other side of the cage. Behind this we have a hammock, and I'm not entirely sure what type of hammock this is. I think it's like a triple decker or something, but these were actually made for us by a subscriber called Amber. And Amber, if you're watching this, thank you so much for sending the boys these. They are really enjoying them and they really love them. And she actually sent us far more than we have space for in the cage. So we have plenty of spare hammocks, and I think they're going to last us a very long time. So I'm really thankful that she sent us these hammocks, and the boys are really loving them. And they alternate which ones they sleep in, which is really cute. So this one does tend to be a favourite, but as you'll see further on in the video, there are many more different types of hammocks that she's made for us. So I'll show you those later on. So behind the hammock, if I move it out the way, is this, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's like a storage shelf unit thing from IKEA. It was from the kids section of IKEA, and apparently it's not available anymore, so I do apologise if you want one of these and you can't find one. This was from IKEA and I did get it about a year ago I think. So this is just attached to the back of the cage with zip ties, and inside we have a Sunday, but also we just have some fleece just to make sure it's nice and comfortable in there for them. So above this we just have one of these wooden bridges, and it doesn't really go anywhere, it's just above that green thing, but I love these. I use these with my rats and also with my mice too. So moving on from that, we just have the rope I mentioned earlier, and hanging behind that is a wooden chew toy. Again, this is another bird toy, and it's a bit too small for them to use as a climbing frame, but sometimes they do try anyway. And as you can see, they've really enjoyed chewing this, so that's why that's there. So next to that is their Sputnik, or their space pod, and I always get asked where I got these specific colours from. I ordered mine from a website called Rat Rations, so it's worth checking that out if you're wanting a Sputnik that isn't the typical colours. That's where I got mine from. And then next to that we have another one of those bird perches. So below that we have a corner litter tray, which is just attached to the bars, and then of course the rope that goes all the way to the other side of the cage. And then below that we have a bendy tunnel which goes all the way into a dig box, which I'll show you later on. So another thing I always get asked about with my cage is what are those white things you have in your cage, and these are just IKEA tie holders. Now these are really great for not only acting as a cheap alternative to hanging ropes in your cage, but they're also really good for hanging other things in the cage off them as well. So as you can see, we have another hammock made by Amber, which is like a cube style hammock, and again this is another favourite with them. They love sleeping in this one too. So that's the top section of the cage. Now we're going to move down and talk about the bottom section of the cage. So probably the best addition to this cage is the fact that the rats now have a dig box they can access all the time. So I just went out and bought a plastic box that fit the shelf of my cage, and in here we just have coco soil. Now you can buy ones aimed at reptiles, so Eco Earth, if you are interested in making a dig box for your own rats. I do have a whole separate video where I made a smaller version of this one which does go through the steps of making a dig box for your rats, so I'll leave that linked in the iCards and also down in the description, but this is their big dig box in their cage. So as you can see, we have the soil in the bottom and then another one of those dog ropes leading over the top, and then we also have the bendy tunnel I showed you earlier. This just goes all the way up to the top of the cage. And above the dig box we just have one of these plastic tunnels. I've not really seen them use this too much, but I did put it in there just in case I wanted to use it anyway. So I'm really glad they're able to have one of these permanently. I often come in here and find them digging around in the soil and foraging for food in there, so I'm really glad they're able to have access to this all of the time. So the dig box itself is actually rested on one of the shelves that came with the cage, and I've just covered the shelf with a bath mat from IKEA, and this is just attached with binder clips. So on the left hand side door I've attached these wooden shoes, and these are just arranged in a way that kind of acts like a little staircase that helps them get up into the dig box. So the tunnel in the dig box leads all the way up to this plastic basket which you can't really see too well, but it is there, and the end of the tunnel comes out into the basket. So next to the dig box is a wooden ladder, and this is just there to help them get in and out of the dig box. So behind this, attached to the shelf, is another one of the hammocks from Amber, and this is just a flat hammock that I've used to kind of catch them when they jump out of the dig box. And of course in front of that is another bendy ladder, and this one's in kind of a weird shape because I didn't have too much space to work with, but behind that is another one of their corner litter trays. And then at the front on the right hand side is their blue foraging wheel, and in front of this is just another bird perch. This one has kind of like an abrasive surface just to wear their claws down when they hop up to have a drink from their water bottle, which is attached to the outside. So on the right hand side door we have a wooden shoe, a lava ledge which has seen better days, and I think they're called a coop cup. This just has water in it for the rats if they don't want to use their water bottles, which most of the time I see them drinking from this instead. So finally, moving on to the bottom of the cage, a lot of you have been asking me where I bought this Perspex tray from, and I actually made it myself. So all I did was measure the inside of the cage, and then you need to remember to take a little bit off of that to make sure the tray will actually fit. And then I ordered all of the different size Perspex sheets from a website called The Plastic People, and then I just attached them together using Gorilla Tape. So I know I probably should have filmed the process of me making this and putting it together, but when it came I just really wanted to get it done, and it was quite hard to do by myself, so I really didn't want to have to think about trying to film that as well. So I'm sorry that I didn't film it, but if you do want to make one for yourself, it is relatively easy to do, and there are some kind of instructions how to do it online, so having this has been a lifesaver. Before I was having to vacuum pretty much every day because the trays that come with this cage aren't great, but now I can put a lot more bedding in there, which is also great for them to forage in, and I usually scatter feed my rats anyway, so being able to put a lot more bedding in there and not having it end up on my carpet has been the best thing ever. So taking a closer look at the base of the cage, we have this green hide which does have another entrance on the other side, which is good, and then above this, I'm poking it with a zip tie because I can't reach, but this did used to be a wooden bridge but no longer, so I've just attached it with a clip in here, and they have been chewing on it, so it's serving a purpose as a chew toy. Next to that we have another flat hammock that Amber made us, and Sunday is now sleeping in that one. And next to that we have a foraging toy. This is in the shape of a rat, and I usually put dog biscuits or large pieces of fruit and vegetable in this one, and this is definitely one of my favourites. I don't know about the rats, but I do find it really funny watching them try to get the food out of this one. And lastly we just have another chew toy. This one is in the shape of a carrot, and this was sent to us by Victoria Rachel, and that is the last thing I have to show you in this cage. But yeah, that is how their cage is looking at the moment. I'm always making changes to it, so I'm sure there will be another cage tour eventually. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching this one. Make sure you are subscribed to see any future animal related videos from us, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye!